Life can feel like a relentless storm, can't it? You wait for a hero, a savior, someone to swoop in and make everything better. But here's the harsh truth. No one is coming to save you. You are the hero of your own story. The moment you accept this, a powerful shift happens. You start to realize that the power to change your life rests solely in your hands. Think about it. When was the last time you put your trust in someone else only to be let down? That feeling of disappointment is a wake-up call. It's a reminder that relying on others can be a trap. You have the strength to navigate your own path, to rise above the chaos. What if I told you that the discomfort you feel is a catalyst for growth? Each challenge is an opportunity in disguise. The world doesn't owe you anything, but you owe it to yourself to take action. Remember, the only person who can truly save you is you. So, are you ready to step into your power? Are you prepared to embrace the discomfort and transform it into strength? Let's dive deeper into this journey of self-discovery and empowerment. If you're looking for more emotional balance, clarity in decision-making, and want to learn how to handle life better, this content is for you. So go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because with each video you'll grow stronger on the inside and see life with greater wisdom. Self-confidence as the engine of personal change. Self-confidence is one of those things that can really drive you forward. When I think back on times when I felt unsure of myself, it's like being stuck in mud. But the moment I started believing in my own abilities, everything shifted. It's as if I found a key to the door of possibilities that I didn't even know existed. I realized that self-confidence isn't just a feeling, it's a mindset. It pushes you to take risks, to step outside your comfort zone, and to embrace new challenges. I remember a time when I had to give a presentation at work. My heart raced and my palms were sweaty. But I told myself that I had prepared well and that I was capable. That little voice of self-assurance was like a warm blanket that calmed my nerves. When I walked into that room, I felt different. I owned the space, and instead of focusing on my fears, I focused on sharing my ideas. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive, and that moment reinforced my belief in the power of self-confidence. But self-confidence doesn't just appear out of thin air. It's built through small victories and the courage to face failures. Each time I took a leap of faith, whether it was trying a new hobby or speaking up in a meeting, I added a brick to my foundation of confidence. It's a cumulative effect that reminds me every time I achieve something, no matter how small, that I am capable of more than I think. Moreover, self-confidence radiates outward. When you believe in yourself, others notice. It's magnetic. I've found that when I exude confidence, people are more likely to listen, to engage, and to support my ideas. It creates a ripple effect, inspiring those around me to also step into their own power. It's a beautiful cycle where confidence breeds confidence, and suddenly you're not just changing your own life, you're influencing others to do the same. In essence, self-confidence is the engine that propels us towards personal change. It's the spark that ignites our potential and the fuel that keeps us going when the road gets tough. By nurturing this trait, we open up a world of opportunities that can lead to profound growth and transformation. The importance of personal responsibility in daily life. Let's talk about personal responsibility. It's one of those concepts that sounds simple, yet it can be incredibly powerful. When I started taking responsibility for my actions and decisions, it was like flipping a switch. No longer could I blame others for my circumstances or the choices I made. Instead, I began to see how much control I actually had over my life. It's empowering to say the least. Think about it. Every decision we make, big or small, shapes our day-to-day experiences. I used to think that life just happened to me. Something went wrong, I'd point fingers. But once I embraced personal responsibility, I realized that I had the ultimate say in how I responded to situations. No longer was I a passive participant in my own life. I became an active player, shaping my path with intention. This shift in mindset also comes with a sense of accountability. When I started owning my choices, I found myself reflecting more on what I wanted to achieve. It was no longer about blaming external factors for my setbacks, but rather assessing how I could improve and grow from the experiences. I began setting goals aligned with my values and passions, and that made all the difference. Moreover, taking responsibility fosters a sense of integrity. It's about being honest with myself and others about my actions and their consequences. I've learned that when I own my mistakes, it not only allows me to learn and grow but also builds trust with those around me. People appreciate honesty, and it creates stronger relationships, both personally and professionally. In daily life, personal responsibility acts like a compass. It guides me in making choices that reflect my true self and my aspirations. The more I take responsibility, the more empowered I feel, and that empowerment is key to living a fulfilling life. It's a continuous journey, but each step forward reinforces my commitment to being the captain of my own ship. The role of resilience in difficult times. Resilience is a word that gets thrown around a lot, but it's more than just bouncing back from adversity. It's about adapting and growing through challenges. I've faced my fair share of tough times, and in those moments, resilience has been my secret weapon. It's like a muscle that you can strengthen over time, and trust me, it gets stronger with each struggle you face. There was a period in my life when everything seemed to go wrong. I lost my job, faced personal issues, and felt like I was stuck in a never-ending cycle of disappointment. But rather than letting those setbacks defeat me, I leaned into resilience. I reassessed my situation, identified what I could control, and focused on taking small steps forward. It wasn't easy, but with each small victory I regained a bit of my strength. One of the key aspects of resilience is perspective. When I found myself in difficult situations, I learned to reframe my thoughts. Instead of viewing challenges as insurmountable obstacles, I started seeing them as opportunities for growth. That shift in mindset made a world of difference. I realized that every setback was a chance to learn something new about myself and to develop new skills. Another vital component of resilience is support. I've learned that I don't have to go through tough times alone. Reaching out to friends, family, or even professional help has been crucial in building my resilience. Sharing my struggles with others not only lightened my emotional load but also provided me with different perspectives and encouragement to keep pushing forward. In the end, resilience is about embracing the journey, no matter how rocky it may be. It's a reminder that we have the inner strength to overcome challenges and emerge stronger on the other side. I've come to appreciate that life's difficulties are not just obstacles but stepping stones leading to greater self-discovery and growth. How the victim mentality affects individual progress. The victim mentality is something I've seen in myself and others, and it can be a real barrier to progress. It's that mindset where you feel like life is happening to you, and you have no control over your circumstances. I used to fall into this trap, blaming the world for my problems and feeling powerless to change anything. But recognizing this pattern was the first step toward breaking free. When you adopt a victim mentality, it's easy to get stuck in a cycle of negativity. I remember times when I would dwell on what went wrong rather than focusing on potential solutions. This mindset not only drained my energy but also stunted my growth. I was so consumed with feeling sorry for myself that I couldn't see the opportunities around me. Breaking free from the victim mentality requires a conscious effort to shift your perspective. I realized that I had to take ownership of my life and my choices. It meant acknowledging that while I couldn't control everything, I could control my reactions and decisions. This was liberating. Instead of feeling trapped, I began to see myself as an active participant in my own narrative. Another important realization was that the victim mentality often leads to a lack of accountability. When I blamed external factors for my challenges, I missed the chance to learn from them. Taking responsibility for my actions has been a game changer. It's allowed me to identify areas where I can improve and grow, rather than wallowing in helplessness. Ultimately, shedding the victim mentality has opened doors to personal growth and empowerment. It's about embracing the belief that I have the power to shape my own destiny. This shift in mindset has not only boosted my confidence but has also inspired me to pursue my goals with renewed vigor. When I stopped seeing myself as a victim, I became the hero of my own story. The influence of social environment on personal choices. The people we surround ourselves with play a significant role in shaping our choices and behaviors. I've noticed how my social environment can either uplift me or hold me back. It's fascinating to see how our relationships can influence our mindset, motivation, and overall direction in life. For me, it's been about being intentional with my social circle. I've learned that surrounding myself with positive, supportive individuals fuels my ambition. When I'm around people who encourage me to strive for my goals, it creates an atmosphere of growth. Their energy and enthusiasm are contagious, and it pushes me to keep moving forward even when the going gets tough. Conversely, I've also experienced the negative effects of being around people who foster a toxic environment. It's easy to get caught up in gossip, negativity, and complacency. I found that when I spent too much time with individuals who were stuck in a rut, I began to mirror that mindset. It was a wake-up call for me to reassess my relationships and take charge of my social influences. Another key aspect is the power of shared experiences. Being part of a community that shares similar goals or interests can be incredibly motivating. I've joined groups and networks that align with my passions, and it's been eye-opening. The shared knowledge, encouragement, and accountability have propelled me to take action and pursue my aspirations with greater fervor. Ultimately, the influence of my social environment is a reminder that we are not alone on our journeys. Our connections can either hinder or enhance our growth, and it's crucial to choose wisely. By surrounding myself with individuals who uplift and inspire me, I've cultivated a more enriching environment that supports my personal development and success. The search for external help. When and how to seek support. You know, it's not always easy to admit that we need help. There's this weird stigma around asking for support like it's a sign of weakness or something. But let me tell you, reaching out for help can actually be one of the strongest things you can do. It takes a lot of courage to recognize that you can't do it all on your own. I remember the first time I found myself overwhelmed with life, work, relationships, everything just piled up. It was in that moment of chaos that I realized I needed to lean on others for support. So, when should you seek help? Well, if you find yourself feeling stuck, anxious, or just plain defeated, it might be time to reach out. Whether it's a friend, a family member, or a professional, talking things out can provide a fresh perspective that you might not see on your own. I've often found that when I share my struggles, I not only feel lighter, but I also gain valuable insights from those who care about me. They often see things I can't and offer solutions that I'd never considered. Now, how do you go about seeking that help? First, you've got to be open and honest about what you're feeling. It's okay to say, "I'm struggling with this and I need your support." People appreciate authenticity, and when you're real about your struggles, it invites others to be real with you in return. Another thing I've learned is to choose the right person to talk to. Not everyone is equipped to help in the same way, so think about who in your life has the capacity to listen and provide constructive feedback. There's also the option of professional help. Therapy or counseling can be a game changer. I remember hesitating to see a therapist because, well, I thought it was only for people with serious issues. But once I took that step, I realized that having a trained professional to guide you through your thoughts and feelings can be incredibly liberating. It's like having a personal coach for your mental well-being. Finally, remember that seeking help is a process. It doesn't have to be a one-time thing. It's okay to check in with someone regularly or seek different types of support as you navigate through life's ups and downs. The important thing is to recognize that you're not alone, and there are people and resources out there who want to help you through it. The impact of procrastination on achieving goals. Procrastination. My old nemesis. We've all been there, right? You set a goal, you're excited about it, and then suddenly days turn into weeks, and the task is still looming over your head like a dark cloud. I used to think that procrastination was just about being lazy, but I've come to realize it's much more complicated than that. It can stem from fear, perfectionism, or even just feeling overwhelmed by the task at hand. One of the biggest impacts of procrastination is the stress it creates. The longer you put things off, the more anxious you become about getting them done. I remember a time when I had a huge project due at work. Instead of diving in, I kept telling myself I'd start tomorrow. Before I knew it, the deadline was right around the corner and I was in full panic mode. The stress was unbearable, and it could have all been avoided if I had just taken that first step sooner. But here's the kicker. The cycle of procrastination can be self-perpetuating. When you finally do sit down to tackle the task, you might find it's not as bad as you thought. But that initial delay often leads to a rush to complete it, which can compromise the quality of your work. I've learned that by breaking tasks into smaller, manageable pieces, I can reduce the temptation to procrastinate. It's all about creating momentum. Another thing I've discovered is the power of accountability. Sharing your goals with someone else can create a sense of obligation that helps you push through the urge to procrastinate. Whether it's a friend or a colleague, having someone check in on your progress can make a world of difference. I've found that when I know someone is counting on me, I'm much less likely to put things off. Lastly, I've learned to be kinder to myself when I do procrastinate. It's easy to fall into a cycle of guilt and shame, but that only makes things worse. Instead, I try to reflect on why I procrastinated and what I can do differently next time. It's all part of the learning process, and recognizing that it's a common struggle can help ease the pressure. Strategies for developing self-discipline. Self-discipline is one of those traits that feels elusive at times, doesn't it? I mean, who hasn't struggled with staying focused on their goals? It's like we're all in a constant battle between our desires and our responsibilities. For me, developing self-discipline has been a journey of trial and error, but I've found a few strategies that really work. First off, it's essential to understand your why. When you have a clear purpose behind your goals, it becomes easier to stay disciplined. For example, if you're trying to get fit, remind yourself why it matters to you, whether it's for health, confidence, or simply feeling good. I've found that writing down my reasons and keeping them visible helps me stay motivated when temptation strikes. Another effective strategy is to create a routine. Humans are creatures of habit, and establishing a daily routine can help automate the process of being disciplined. I remember when I decided to wake up an hour earlier to work on personal projects. At first, it was tough, but it quickly became a habit. Now, that hour is sacred to me and I cherish the quiet time to focus and create. Accountability, again, plays a crucial role in self-discipline. I've learned that sharing my goals with friends or joining a group with similar objectives can create a support system that keeps me on track. When I have people rooting for me and checking in on my progress, I'm less likely to falter. It's almost like having a built-in cheer squad for my ambitions. Another technique that's been a game changer for me is the 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, just do it right away. This simple rule helps me tackle small tasks before they pile up, and it creates a sense of accomplishment that fuels my motivation for bigger projects. I can't tell you how many times I've avoided a mountain of small tasks, only to find that doing them immediately made my day feel lighter. Lastly, be patient with yourself. Developing self-discipline is a skill that takes time. There will be setbacks, and that's okay. What's important is to learn from those moments and keep moving forward. I like to remind myself that every day is a new opportunity to practice discipline, and each small victory builds a stronger foundation for the future. The need to set clear and achievable goals. Setting goals is like mapping out a journey. You need a destination to know where you're headed. I've learned that having clear and achievable goals can be the difference between feeling lost and having a sense of purpose. It's not just about saying, "I want to be successful," but rather defining what success looks like for me personally. To start, I found that it's essential to be specific. Instead of vague goals like, "get fit," I set concrete targets such as, exercise for 30 minutes, 5 times a week. This specificity gives me a clear action plan to follow. I remember when I decided to improve my writing skills. Instead of saying, "I want to write more," I committed to writing 500 words a day. That clarity helped me stay focused and made the task feel less daunting. Another important aspect is setting realistic goals. It's great to dream big, but if the goals are too far-fetched, it can lead to frustration and disappointment. I've learned to break larger goals down into smaller, manageable steps. For instance, if I want to read a certain number of books in a year, I'll set a monthly reading target instead. This approach not only makes the goal feel achievable but also allows me to celebrate small wins along the way. I also make it a habit to review my goals regularly. Life changes and sometimes our priorities shift. By checking in on my goals every few months, I can adjust them as needed and ensure they still align with what I want. It's like recalibrating your GPS. It keeps you on the right path and prevents you from veering off course. Another technique that has helped me is visualizing success. I create vision boards or write down my goals in a journal, which keeps them at the forefront of my mind. When I visualize what achieving my goals looks like, it becomes more tangible and motivates me to take action. I often find inspiration in seeing my goals laid out visually, and it serves as a constant reminder of what I'm working toward. Finally, I've realized that celebrating progress is crucial. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget to acknowledge how far you've come. I make it a point to reward myself for reaching milestones no matter how small. This practice not only boosts my morale but also reinforces my commitment to my goals. The role of self-efficacy in overcoming challenges. Self-efficacy is one of those concepts that can profoundly influence how we approach challenges. It's the belief in our ability to succeed in specific situations. I can't tell you how many times my perception of my capabilities has shaped my outcomes. When I believe I can tackle a challenge, I'm far more likely to take action and persevere. One of the key components of building self-efficacy is past experiences. I've come to realize that the importance of self-knowledge for personal growth. Self-knowledge is one of those things that sounds simple but is incredibly profound. When I think about the times I've really taken a step back to understand who I am, my strengths and weaknesses, it's like opening a door to a whole new room in my mind. It's not just about knowing what I'm good at, it's also about recognizing my limitations. This awareness creates a foundation for everything else in my life. When I know myself, I can set better goals, make wiser decisions, and approach challenges with a clearer mindset. It's funny how often we get lost in the opinions of others. I remember a time when I was influenced by what my friends thought I should do with my career. I chased after paths that didn't resonate with me at all. But once I started digging deeper into my own values and passions, I realized I was heading in the wrong direction. Self-knowledge helps us cut through the noise and find our true path. It's like having a compass that always points to where we really want to go, not where others think we should go. Another key aspect of self-knowledge is understanding our emotional triggers. I've found that when I take the time to reflect on my feelings, I can manage them better. For instance, recognizing that I tend to feel anxious in social situations has allowed me to prepare for them in advance. Instead of avoiding those scenarios, I can approach them with a plan. It's empowering to know that I can equip myself with strategies to handle my emotions rather than letting them control me. Moreover, self-knowledge isn't a one-time achievement. It's a lifelong journey. I often revisit my self-assessments and adjust them as I grow and change. Life experiences, new relationships, and even failures contribute to this ongoing process. I've learned to embrace change and adapt my self-perception accordingly. This adaptability opens the door to continuous personal growth, making me more resilient and prepared for whatever life throws my way. Finally, self-knowledge fosters authentic relationships. When I understand myself better, I can communicate my needs and boundaries more effectively. This clarity not only benefits my relationships but also attracts people who appreciate the real me. Authentic connections are built on mutual understanding, and by being true to myself, I invite others to do the same. It's a beautiful cycle that enriches both my life and the lives of those around me. How to turn failures into learning opportunities. Failures. They can hit hard, can't they? I've had my fair share, and honestly, I used to see them as the end of the road. But over time, I've learned that failures are often the most valuable teachers. Each time I stumbled, I had a choice: to wallow in disappointment or to dissect the experience for lessons. It took a while to shift my perspective, but now I see failures as pivotal moments for growth and discovery. One of the biggest turning points for me was realizing that failure doesn't define my worth. There was a time when I tied my self-esteem to my achievements. When I failed at something, I felt like a failure as a person. But once I began to view failure as a natural part of the learning process, I started to detach my identity from my outcomes. This realization was liberating. It allowed me to approach new challenges with a fresh mindset, willing to explore and experiment without the fear of judgment. I also became more proactive about analyzing my failures. Instead of brushing them aside or pretending they didn't happen, I started to ask myself critical questions. What went wrong? What could I have done differently? What did I learn from this? This reflective practice transformed my failures into a treasure trove of insights. I've developed a habit of keeping a journal where I document my experiences, both good and bad. This way, I can revisit past failures and the lessons they taught me whenever I need a boost of motivation. Moreover, sharing my failures with others has proven to be incredibly beneficial. I used to think that showing vulnerability would make me look weak. However, I found that opening up about my struggles fosters deeper connections and encourages others to share their own experiences. It creates a supportive environment where we can all learn from one another. The stories we share often resonate on a personal level, reminding us that we're not alone in our journeys. Finally, I've learned to celebrate my failures just as much as my successes. This mindset shift has made me more resilient. Instead of fearing failure, I now welcome it as a stepping stone on my path to success. Each misstep is an opportunity for growth, and I've come to appreciate the richness they add to my life story. When I embrace failure, it loses its power over me, allowing me to move forward with confidence and courage. The relationship between proactivity and success. Let's talk about proactivity, shall we? It's a word that gets thrown around a lot, but what does it really mean in practical terms? For me, being proactive is all about taking initiative and being responsible for my actions. It's about not waiting for opportunities to come to me but rather creating them myself. I've seen firsthand how this mindset can dramatically influence my success. When I think back to moments when I was reactive rather than proactive, I realize that I often ended up feeling stuck or frustrated. There's something empowering about taking charge of my life and decisions. For example, in my career, I learned that waiting for someone to recognize my potential was a waste of time. Instead, I started seeking out projects that aligned with my interests and skills. By stepping up and volunteering for new initiatives, I opened doors that I never would have found if I just waited around. Another aspect of proactivity is planning. I used to dive headfirst into tasks without a clear plan, which often led to chaos and stress. Now, I make it a habit to outline my objectives and devise a strategy for achieving them. This approach not only keeps me organized but also helps me anticipate potential obstacles. By thinking ahead, I can tackle challenges before they become overwhelming. It's like having a roadmap that guides me through the twists and turns of life. I've also learned that being proactive requires a certain level of self-discipline. It's all too easy to get distracted or sidetracked by immediate pleasures. I've found that setting boundaries for myself, like designated work hours or specific times for personal projects, helps me stay on track. When I hold myself accountable, I'm more likely to follow through on my commitments. This discipline reinforces my proactive nature and keeps me focused on my goals. Moreover, proactivity doesn't just apply to individual pursuits. it also extends to relationships. I've found that taking the initiative in my personal life leads to deeper and more meaningful connections. Whether it's reaching out to a friend just to check in or planning a gathering, being proactive in my relationships fosters a sense of community and support. It's a reminder that success isn't just about personal achievements. It's also about the connections we build along the way. The practice of gratitude as an empowerment tool. Gratitude, what a powerful concept. I used to think of it as just a nice sentiment, something we say around the holidays. But as I've delved deeper into my personal development journey, I've come to realize that practicing gratitude is a transformative tool for empowerment. It's not just about appreciating what I have, it's about shifting my entire perspective on life. One of the most impactful changes I made was starting a gratitude journal. Every day I jot down a few things I'm thankful for, no matter how small. This simple practice has trained my mind to focus on the positive aspects of my life, even during challenging times. For instance, on days when I feel overwhelmed, I find solace in reflecting on the little joys, a warm cup of coffee, a kind word from a friend, or the beauty of nature. It's like flipping a switch in my brain that diverts my attention from negativity to appreciation. Moreover, expressing gratitude has deepened my relationships. I've made it a point to tell the people in my life how much I appreciate them. Whether it's a heartfelt message or a simple thank you, acknowledging others' contributions fosters connection and positivity. It's amazing how such a small gesture can make someone's day, and in return, it enriches my own life. Gratitude builds a sense of community and belonging that is essential for emotional well-being. I also find that gratitude helps me cultivate resilience. When faced with setbacks, it's easy to get caught up in disappointment. However, by practicing gratitude, I remind myself of the strengths and resources I possess. It's like having a mental toolbox filled with reminders of past successes and support systems. This awareness empowers me to tackle challenges head-on, knowing that I've navigated difficulties before and come out stronger. Furthermore, gratitude enhances my overall perspective on life. Instead of viewing challenges as insurmountable obstacles, I've learned to see them as opportunities for growth. This shift in mindset has made me more open to new experiences and less afraid of failure. It's a beautiful cycle. The more I practice gratitude, the more I find reasons to be grateful. This positive feedback loop creates a sense of fulfillment that fuels my motivation to pursue my goals. The effectiveness of small daily actions in building a better life. Let's dive into the power of small daily actions. I used to believe that significant change required monumental efforts. Those grand gestures that make for great stories. But over time, I've come to realize that it's often the small, consistent actions that lead to the most profound transformations. It's a lesson I've learned through trial and error, and I'm grateful for it. When I started breaking down my goals into smaller, manageable tasks, everything changed. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the enormity of my ambitions, I began to focus on daily habits. For instance, when I wanted. So, as we wrap up this discussion, let's reflect on something crucial. The power lies within us. Every moment we spend waiting for someone else to come to our rescue is a moment lost in our own potential. Ask yourself, what action can you take today to steer your own ship? What small step can you implement right now to break free from that cycle of dependency? Remember, the Stoics believed in taking responsibility for our own lives. Think about it. When was the last time you felt empowered to change your situation? Whether it's tackling a personal challenge or pursuing a new goal, the choice is yours. Embrace the discomfort. It's here that true growth happens. And let's not forget, this journey isn't just about the destination. It's about the lessons learned along the way. Are you ready to take the reins? What's stopping you from making that first move? Before you go, I want to hear from you. Share your biggest takeaway from today's video in the comments. How will you apply these Stoic principles in your life? Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Let's keep this conversation going.